full potential is a moving target. And so there is no end. There is no best version of yourself. There's a better version, which you could be today, not tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I drive towards, right? I don't think that there's a maximum that anyone or any group can reach. It just keeps moving.
Welcome to Champion This podcast with Brianna, Salvatore, Dueck, and Chelsea Poppens, where we share the incredible stories of athletes and entertainers who are using their platforms to create positive change in the world and the communities they live in.
Today we have Cam Van on the pod. Cam is an absolute stud. He is a professional track and field athlete. He was an All-American at Claremont McKenna. He's the co-founder and CEO of Couro. He's an attorney, a board member and volunteer for Build.org. He's also a UC Davis School of Law alumni. Shout out UC Davis, go Ags.
Go Aggies.
Also, in his free time, he's an avid scuba diver, and he's a dad dog to a Great Dane, which is fitting because Cam is very tall and very endearing, as a Great Dane is. So, Cam, super excited to have you on the podcast.
I'm excited to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to, spread the good word of things.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you got a lot on your plate. But to kick it off, we always kind of try to get a better feel of where your journey with sports started. You obviously have a very extremely successful track career, and you have a lot of things that you're doing, especially with you being an All-American. But we just love to take a moment to understand like how sport plays a role in your life and how you kind of got that spark to go after being a part of track.
Sure. That's a funny story. I only entered track because my coach told me I should. I used to be I also used to be a baller. I mean, I like playing basketball, but in high school, it was my sport of choice. At least when I was a freshman, my dad told me I had to play a sport, so I was like, okay, yes, sir. Chose basketball because my other brothers played basketball and they were good.
And because it's the best sport, come on.
And it's fun, yeah, right. And so I thought it was cool too. So I'm trying to be like the cool guy. So, joined the team and was pretty good. And trying out for varsity, or at least like working out with the varsity guys. Who knows, right? But we had this one drill. Maybe you two know it. There's like where you only have like a sliver of the sideline to get by your defender, and then once you get to half court, it's one-on-one. Whoever scores, you get a point or something. And so the senior on the team kind of checked me because I was the only freshman working out at the time, or maybe there's one other guy. But the senior was like, all right, Cam, like, yeah, here you go. And I was like, okay, I know he's going to try and show me up. So I know he's going to reach. So he did. And I put it around my back and went up, and I was like, I'm going to show off for the coach. I'm going to go and dunk. I'm going to do it. Right. And so I went up. I had only really dunked a few times. I was 14. Right. So I went up and I was trying to dunk, and I was like, oh, that felt really weird. I felt something super weird in my hip. And then came down crashing on that same leg, which is also not smart. And turns out that what the doctors described it as is my muscles pulled so hard that it like pulled the bone out of the socket.
Oh my!
And then when I came down to land on it, it just like kind of broke, and a little piece broke off. And
oh no!
Yeah, no. And so it's I guess in young boys, it's very common that the muscles are stronger than the bones at the time.
Oh.
So to me, I'd never heard of this before. The doctor's like, yeah, it happens all the time, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Really?
yeah, anyways, it actually healed pretty fast. Like I wasn't walking for, I think 2 months, or I wasn't supposed to, but I kind of, here and there. Right. With sneak shots in here and there. And actually I made the freshman team, and I was able to play the last 2 games and score 15 points.
Let's go.
But I came back the next season because I was like, I'm just going to rehab. I'm not going to get hurt again. I came back the next season super out of shape. So now I'm a sophomore in high school. And my coach was like, bro, you came out like really out of shape, and you're supposed to be one of the fastest guys. So maybe try track just to stay in shape for, so when you come back next year, you'll be in shape and everything. And so I was like, okay, good idea. I went to the track and then, broke my school's high jump record that year.
Really? Your first year out?
Casual.
Yeah.
How high did you go freshman year?
Freshman year, I think this was sophomore
year.
year. I think I jumped like 6'1", maybe 6'2".
Nice.
The record wasn't very high, but I'll send you pictures. Maybe you could put the still in or something. But like,
Yeah.
there's a picture of me sitting over. I'm a sophomore. And I'm sitting over 6 feet. So sitting over means literally sitting like in a chair.
Oh yeah,
You're
no
supposed to bend
Fosbury
your back.
flop for you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to bend your back, but I didn't have a coach, so it was
You're
just
like, I
like,
just get over however I get over.
yeah. And people were like, I go to meets, people were like, "What is wrong with you, dude? Like you're winning, but like do it right, you know." So,
Do it right.
anyways,
Were you
so I
jumping off of 2 feet too instead of one?
no, that's a disqualification, so I can't do that.
Okay.
But I like yeah. So, anyways, I just was way better at track, and just by happenstance, just did it because my coach kind of told me to, and then so someone got in my ear and was like, "Hey, you could go to college for this. Hey, you could like really be good at this," and um and so I did that, and then actually the basketball coach didn't love that I was doing that in the off season instead of basketball.
You're like, hey,
So
you suggested it.
I was
Yeah.
like, I'm getting looks from college for this, so I'm going to do this
Yeah.
instead. And so, yeah, I ended up doing track instead, and fell in love, and it just kind of happened, like right place, right time. So it was an injury, but I feel fortunate that I had that injury, honestly.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. How did you end up at Claremont McKenna of all the schools that were recruiting you?
Oh,
Like, what was that
that's a
process
good
like?
question. I was for sure going East Coast. I was like kind of locked in to go to one of the Ivies for track and then maybe basketball too. And I was like, all right, I'm going. Like had kind of had a, I guess, a verbal commitment. Um, but,
Oh,
but
you decommitted.
no, I didn't decommit.
Wow.
No. It was just, we were just talking, I think.
It was
Um,
verbal. It was loosey goosey.
nothing was on paper as an attorney, that's their fault. And so, yeah, I one of my friends in high school was like, "Hey, you should check out the school. I know it's a small school, but you should check it out. It's like in California, and it just kind of matches your vibe." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I sent an email to the coach, like to the track coach that day, and she responded within 30 minutes. Actually, I think I remember being 34 minutes exactly because I was like, "That was
Wow.
crazy. What? She buy her computer?"
Yeah.
Um, it's like right after school. I was just like, "Okay," and she responded right away, and she was like, "Can you come on a official visit next week or in 2 weeks?" And I told my parents, and they were like, "Yeah, go." My dad actually wasn't super stoked because he wanted me to go to that Ivy, and he was like, "Bro, like, what are you doing? Why are you still looking around?" you
Why are
know?
you still shopping?
Yeah. And so I went, and I was blown away.
Mm.
So I was blown away because of how many. So let me back up. I went, and my host, Caleb Cunna, shout out to him. He's a good guy. He was a hurdler, and he threw a party for me. It was a Tuesday. Threw a party for me. Like 35, 40 people came, which to
Wow.
me in high school, I was like, oh my God.
I
Right.
know. That's
And all these people came, and they came up to me, and they were just telling me how much they love the school, how excited they were to go to class every day, how fulfilled they felt, and how they could be an athlete and a student, and they had plans for after school. And so I never thought of me being like an athlete after school or anything. So I was like, that's sick. Like the fact that so many people would come up to me and tell me their experience and wanted to just share with me that they love their school was, I mean, I went to, I don't know how many, maybe 12, 13 visits, and
wow.
none of them none of the students were like, it's a good school, man, like,
I'm thinking about my time recruiting, and I was like, they had their recruiting campaign just
hmm
down. Like, throw a party, get everybody there to hype this school up. Let's get this athlete. Like, let's.
maybe when I talked to him, it was like the year when I came, like the next year, I asked him, was that a setup? And he was like, no, that was genuine, man. I didn't even tell
Oh,
them to say that.
Wow.
That's just the vibe of the school. And when
that's
I went
cool.
there, I really felt it. I did the same thing for recruits. I was like, look, I'm not trying to gas you up. I just love this school. I don't feel like I need to be anywhere else but on campus. I don't feel like I got to go to LA, although I
Yeah.
did go to LA. Like all of that. And so it was honest. And
Yeah.
that's what really struck me. And I was like, it doesn't matter. Like all these schools, they're all good schools, right? So what's the difference, right? Is the life balance. And the fact
Mhm.
that everyone felt that way was just shocking to me, honestly. I was like, you love your school? Love
Yeah.
it?
So
Right?
Claremont McKenna, if you're listening,
Mm-hmm.
we're out here looking for a sponsor. We're here to hype you up. You heard
Yeah,
it
they want to
first from
sponsor
Cam.
me. They can. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. That's really, really cool. And it like I think as a college athlete, Chelsea and I can also speak to our experiences. Like The sports part is a massive part of your experience, but also
Mhm.
like picking a school that aligns with who you are and where you want to go is super, super important. And a lot of times you'll see athletes maybe just pick the like best sports school and not have any regard for their career or like career post sports or vice versa. And I think it can end up yeah, just not setting up athletes for success. So
Mhm.
that's really cool that you had an authentic experience in that way.
Did you
Yeah.
know at the time that you wanted to be an attorney?
Yes, but before we get to that, I just want to say to all the athletes listening out there who might be in high school trying to decide which college to go to. I actually wrote a paper, got it published in the Journal of Sport
Oh, wow.
about this in college because I was curious to see whether college had an impact on athlete success. And so I defined success as making the NBA for basketball athletes, making a league, and then making making money in the league. Right? Was it a predictor of success? And it did not matter where you went to school.
Wow.
It did not matter. It was not indicative of success in any way.
Mm.
So I got kind of some flack for this actually from the people
Mm-hmm.
who I from some I got some emails from some school leaders, but
They didn't like that.
they didn't like it because they were like, you're telling kids not to go to school, and I was like, I'm not telling kids not to go to school. I'm telling them that their school will not decide their success.
Mm.
They will decide their success. So they need
Mm.
to know that going into school, right? That it's not the school necessarily. So,
Yeah.
anyways, but to answer your question, did I always know I wanted to be an attorney? The answer is yes.
Ooh,
I
wow.
read a
So,
book.
but what age were you like, yeah, I
Oh
want to
man,
do this?
I think it was third grade.
Third grade? What?
Yeah,
I didn't even know what an attorney was in the third grade. That's
Right?
crazy.
He was
I
already
didn't
debating
really
his
either.
parents.
I didn't really either. So I went to a kind of a funky elementary school. It was a Montessori school. So they give you
Mm,
worksheets in the beginning of the week, and then it's on you to decide how and when you finish it throughout the week and whether you need help and blah blah blah. So everyone's kind of doing different stuff through the week depending on what they like most.
I've
I
heard
kind of
great things about Montessori schools,
I
so
loved it. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
example,
Yeah,
A.
but I finished it also lets you when you finish, it lets you, like, kinda wander and go to things that you like, and so I finished my worksheet early this week, and I went and I just, like, walked to the bookcase and picked a random book, because it had a black guy on it, and it was Thurgood Marshall, who is the,
Wow.
first Black Supreme Court justice
Mm-hmm.
in the US, and he also was the head attorney on Brown versus Board of Education,
Yeah.
which desegregated the United States school system. And for me, I was just like a third grader reading it, and it struck me that one person can have such a big impact, and not because they were elected, because they earned it, because they were on a case and they're the right person at the right time and had the right mind. And
Mm.
I was like, what else could I want to do to help move the needle of progress forward for people, then do that. There was nothing else I'd want to do than to just help people with my mind. Because it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if I'm hurt or not. Doesn't matter what I look like.
Hmm.
All that matters is that he was the right person. And so from then on, I wanted to be an attorney. And my parents were like, "Are you sure you don't want to be like a fireman? Sure you don't want to be like a astronaut, something fun? You're a kid, bro." And I was like, "No, I want to be an attorney and then a judge." They were like, "Okay."
Wow.
I was a judge for Halloween a couple of years.
So cute. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. We need those pics. Send those pics.
Yeah, I'm sure my mom has them somewhere.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So from then on, yeah, I always knew I wanted to be an attorney. So, kind of like college for me was always window dressing because I knew I had to go to law school too. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like for me it was just like a chance to have a good experience and meet cool people, but I knew that I had to do one other step after too.
Hmm.
Totally.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting speaking about that. You graduate from Claremont McKenna.
Hmm.
You decide to go compete professionally in track.
Not yet.
Oh no. Okay. So right
Yeah.
upon graduation, is that when you went straight to law school?
Yeah, I went straight through.
Okay.
I went straight to UC Davis after Claremont McKenna, and I like had a little sappy moment at nationals senior year. I put my shoes next to the track, or next to the long jump pit, and took a picture and cried with my coach. And I was like, "It's over! Like all this work, all this stuff.
Oh,
It's crazy because
yeah.
like it's just over. There's
Yeah.
no like pomp and circum. I mean, I guess there was because I was at nationals, but like then it's just done."
Yeah.
And then you're no longer an athlete. So that's something
Mm.
that's kind of like it's a trip to go through because you spend every day of your life towards a goal, and then the goal's done, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so after I went to law school, it was all good. I was just like training like a gym bro because
Mm-hmm.
no,
Were
I
you
was
still out
not.
on the track or
No,
like
no, I was
no?
done with that. The track workouts are tough.
They
I
are.
was like, I'm lifting and playing basketball and having fun, and it was a good time. But then COVID hit, and so come 2020, yeah, like 2020 March or whatever, the gyms were closed, and I was like, dang, I'm gonna go crazy if I can't like work out at all. I was doing like I lived with 4 other guys. We called them prison workouts because we were just like doing body squats and push-ups and like tossing a ball to each other. We're like, this is not sustainable. We can't do this every day. And then I knew myself, and I was like, as I get closer to setting for the bar, I'm gonna need an outlet. Um, and I can't like really see people other than the people at my apartment or at my house that I live with, 4 other dudes. And, we're going to need to have an outlet or else we're just not going to do well on this test. And so I was like, hey guys, y'all want to go to the track with me? And first they said no. But as I started being more
They're
consistent
like,
with it,
do I want to run sprints on the track with you? No thanks, I'm good.
bless them, they did. They did, and a couple other friends from law school, they did. They would come consistently. They would run like pyramids. A pyramid
And
is
now they're all pros.
no, but they are more fit though. They are more fit. Shout out to them, and they also pushed me because it was nice to be. It's always nice to be out there with people, but they were out there. Bree, it's 100 degrees out
Ugh,
there,
miserable.
in
So hot.
Davis, and in the
Yes.
heat, like COVID. It was smoky too
Mm-mm.
because of all those fires, and they were running with me doing pyramids, which is like I had them doing tough stuff like
What is a
100.
pyramid? That sounds miserable. I can only imagine.
Yeah. So you work your way up and you work your way down. So what we were doing, we would do 50, 100, 200, 250, 300, 400, and then go down. And that was the workout.
I don't miss those.
Yeah, right.
I did track in high school and I
Okay.
hated the running portion of it.
So miserable.
Yeah, honestly, that was probably too much.
PTSD.
And like, sometimes they lost their lunch a little bit, but it was all good because
Yeah,
they always
yeah.
felt better after. And so anyways, I started doing that. And then I started kind of jumping too a little bit. And then I PR'd without really any training, in the long jump. And I was like, whoa, like I'm jumping 24 and a half feet.
He's like just a natural athlete.
Messing around, right? And I was like, if I focus on this, I might be able to go somewhere. And then, the next season following 2021, I started to be able to compete at meets when they opened up, and I was going to them, and I got a bid to go to the Olympic Training Center and compete there. And I was talking to Olympians, and they were like, yo, man, like you still look pretty raw, but you could make things happen if you focus on these things. And some of those things are still only just now clicking. There's just so much to focus on. It's such a technical event, and I didn't even really know how raw I was until now, maybe. But that's how I got into it, just because honestly, because of COVID and not wanting to go crazy. And then I just I think track is just a numbers game. So the more consistent you are hitting a certain mark, the more opportunities you get.
So how did you get plugged back into the pro community after hitting like testing for the bar? And
yeah, I just like went to I got plugged back into the track community because I came back from Davis, came to San Francisco. I was working here at a law firm, and I would just like go to Kezar, the open track. And then I would go consistently, and then people would be like, hey, you're like training hard. You want to join our track club? And so I joined City Speed for a second. And then that's where I met my coach now, who coaches other pros as well. And he started coaching me like, hey man, you need a coach. Like you need someone to give you cues, not just after your workouts, but during and all this stuff. And he started coaching me for free. Shout out to him. He's just like, I see a vision. He's like, I want to help you get there. And so,
cool.
That's how I got into it. And then we've been all over the US together now. We've been to Washington, Miami, New Jersey, New Mexico, Southern California a ton. That's where a lot of meets are. And this upcoming January, February, we're gonna go compete out in Europe. So like that's all cool too. So all over. Yeah. So shout out to him. We've been training for 4 years now and come a long way.
So cool.
So when you passed the bar, did you did you also go directly into practicing law?
Yeah. So I worked at the same law firm, Seyfarth Shaw, from my 1L first summer in law school, and then in Sacramento, and then worked in the SF office in my sophomore 2L year, same thing, second year, and then like worked for them throughout my 3L year as a law clerk, and then you can't technically be an associate until you pass the bar, and so I was a law clerk, and then yeah, I was a law clerk all the way up until I passed the bar, which you take the bar and you wait like 4 months
Yeah.
to find out. I'm like, this should be quicker,
Right.
like this should be much quicker. But anyways, so and then once I got that, then I was a junior associate, and I was there for I was a junior associate until honestly like June or July of that year, 2021, and then I saw a vision not only for myself in track, which I was at a big law firm, and they pay a lot, but they demand a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's really hard, especially as a junior associate, to have a whole other life,
Mm-hmm.
because they rely on them to do a lot of the time consuming stuff, because we're the cheapest attorney on it. So you want the junior associates going through doing that review, and then just the partner who charges $2,000 an hour to just make sure it's all good. So
Right.
anyways, I was like,
Totally.
I don't think this is sustainable. I actually got hurt before trials 2021. I tore my quad because that whole week I had worked 70 hours doing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
Yeah.
I was doing, or maybe it was 65, but still, I
Nonetheless.
was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I was just like sleeping 4 hours, wake up at 5, go to the track, and
That's
then work till like
insane.
9:30,
Yeah. No.
and then eat, and then probably be in bed by 1.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a great, I mean, you kind of giving a little context there is, I think, a good segue into also in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
you founded your company,
Mm-hmm.
Couro, which you're now
Mm-hmm.
currently the CEO of.
Right.
And for our listeners, just to give a little context, Couro is a platform for athletes, coaches, and trainers to offer their exclusive content for training videos, insightful breakdowns to one-on-ones, in exchange for a subscription. So you're gonna give us more details on what I just said,
Yeah.
but yeah, like what kind of fueled that decision to start the company? Was it all kind of looped into this like moment of getting injured? Yeah,
Yeah. So, um, more stories. So when I was at the Olympic Training Center competing against these guys who I had on my wall in college, right? These guys who 2016 gold medalist long jumper. I'm on the same runway as him. I'm like, yo, bro, this is crazy.
yeah,
What is going on? Right? Never really thought that would be me. So it was I was honestly starstruck. So I did not compete well. I'd never really even been starstruck in sports before until then. And my coach was like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." So, anyways, I was starstruck, but I wasn't too starstruck to go up and talk to him. So I went up to him. I was like, "Yo, bro, put me on. How are you getting sponsorships? Who's paying for your trips? Who's paying for your shoes?
yes,
Who do I need to talk to? Right? Like, put me on. Come on, I'm trying to be like you." Right? And then the guy looked at me like, "Sponsorships? I bought these shoes. I paid for myself to get here. I paid for my own entry to the meet." And I'm like, this is an Olympian talking.
yeah,
What? That makes no sense. I was flabbergasted, disheveled
hmm
even. Like I was like, what? Like I didn't
He's
even
like,
know
you
what to
put
say.
me on.
Yeah, he was like, you're an attorney. What do you need money for? I'm like, bro, I can't do this. Like, what do you mean you can compete for Team USA, but still struggle to get a sponsorship?
mm,
Come to find out, 58% of Team USA athletes live under the poverty line, which to me is underselling the issue, because that includes WNBA and NBA and professional soccer players
yep,
too. And
yep,
so when you take them out, the number is going to be way higher,
yeah,
Mhm.
right?
wow,
And so that means most, maybe even like more, like a plurality, like more than 70%, I would probably guess, live under the poverty line, which means make under $25,000 in a year,
wow.
Mhm.
right? Which is crazy.
Is that
Um,
just Team USA or a global scale?
It's actually mostly Team USA
Okay.
because globally, uh, their national teams will take care of them more.
Mm.
So
Mm.
right now, if you're a designated athlete, you get $1,200 a month, which if you do the math is not a lot per year. It is under the poverty line.
Nope.
Yep.
It's not enough to live in San Francisco where I
Definitely
live,
not.
let alone in many places in the U.S. And
I don't think
so
it's enough for Iowa either.
right, it's tough. It's tough, and so it's like, I mean, okay, so we're not really getting the support from the USA Federation. Okay, there are some other ways that you can support yourself, but you really see like a huge like there's a dichotomy in track specifically, but I think with Olympic sports that aren't basketball or the major sports, which is the people who are sponsored and they have all the tools that they need to be successful, which is not just the leg cuff things, but it's also them. It's not just the trainers, but it's also them. It's not just the body work, but it's also that. It's all of it together that works in concert to help you be successful, that a lot of people don't have. And so people get breakdown injuries because track is so tough. And in order to make money in track, you need to compete. You need to
Mhm.
win.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to be at a high level. But the guys and girls that have a lot of money, they compete 3 times before nationals, and they're
Mhm.
fresh because
Yeah.
they didn't need to make the money, right? And so and it's no shade on them. They're doing their thing,
Yeah.
right? I think what they're doing is great. A lot of the pro athletes, what they're doing, they're speaking out about it too, and so it's
Yeah.
great. Really, what it needs to be is there just needs to be more opportunity for the middle and the lower level athletes that are right there, but for access to just enough resources so that they don't have to work 50 hours a week. I know a guy who works in construction, and he also made Team USA for indoors, but
Yeah.
not for outdoors,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
It's little things like that. He's working construction. He's working his body, man.
Yeah.
And it's tough out there. And he lives, in a hot area. So as we go to the outdoor season, it gets harder and harder to work.
Yeah.
Little
Mhm.
things like that. People talk about why didn't he make the team? And it's like, you don't get it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I hear those stories, and then I also remember flashback maybe to when I was talking about when I was in high school. I didn't have a coach, and so I had YouTube, and I had my friend recorded me on his iPad. Shout out to him. Shout out to
Yeah.
Nico. Thank you for that. And so he would record me as I do my little high jump or long jump or whatever, and then we'd look at it and we'd be like, "This doesn't look like an Olympian at all." And so I would watch the videos 100 times trying to copy paste, but the video never spoke back to me. And so I always thought, what if we could make this connection? There's all these athletes with high level knowledge and insights from all these coaches, all that brought them all the way up, and just personal insights that they've gained along the way. And there's all these people that would love to learn from them, whether it's a weekend warrior learning, why does my Achilles hurt? Is it ruptured or is it just sore? How do I train through that? Or is it a high school kid like, how do you bend your back on a high jump? I actually don't know. You know,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
YouTube videos, they don't tell me really, or they're not working for me or whatever. To be able to talk to somebody with that deep level insights can just help you cut the curve,
Mhm.
right? It's why kids who had been doing track since they were 6, when by the time they're 16, they're making trials
Yeah.
because they've had 10 years of coaching.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I complained about it to my dad, like, someone should make this. It's not right. And he was like, don't call me again talking about this. If you're not going to do anything, don't call me.
I love it.
I was
Yes.
like, damn, okay, dad. Yes, sir. Right. And so it bothered me so much that I was like, all right, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
And so now we got Couro.
Mhm. How did it start? Like, what were those next steps? How did you dive into it?
Yeah, the next steps were reading a ton of books about just starting a business in general, 0 to 1,
Mhm.
the startup dilemma, blah blah blah. Just like I'm from Silicon Valley. I heard a lot about startups, but I always had a legal focus, so I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to start a business. I don't need to listen to this. But then I did. And so I read, I don't know, my goal is a book a week, trying to put myself in a little boot camp for it. And then reaching out to all my friends who are technical, being like, can you help me with this? A lot of friends were just like, man, that sounds like a lot. No, cannot. And so I found a friend who knew somebody, connected me to her, and then she helped me a little bit, and then found another person through YC Connect, which is like a
Mhm.
matchmaking service for founders, and then found Scott, is our CTO currently. And I also mentioned, or should have mentioned, Jackie, our other co-founder. We went to high school together. She actually helped me a lot in geometry. Shout out to Jackie.
Yes, Jackie. She's
She was in my
great.
she was in my first class. First class ever, I guess. Just happened to sit next to her and we were friends after. And so she started her own company, just like promoting companies, right? She started a consulting agency basically for that. And I was like, hey, I don't know anything about media, let alone social media. So, I know it's important. All these books I've read said that it's important. Sales is the most important thing. And so, could you help me out? And so she just started helping out as a contractor. And she was like, hey, I really like the mission of this company. At the time she was dating somebody who was also a professional triathlete. And she was like, I see the pain, I see the struggle and the work, and I want to help be a part of the solution. Can I come on as a co-founder? And that was really cool to me because I had been wanting to find a co-founder, and it was important to me to find co-founders that were aligned with the mission.
Yeah.
So that, because it's work and it's kind of lonely too, because there's a lot of work on your own computer alone. And you two know, you're both founders, right? You know the grind. And so it can be lonely, but as long as you're buttressed by the mission of the company, you can push on. Kind of like when you're working out, right? You have this vision, whether it's a personal vision or a team vision, that helps push you through the hard days. But if you don't have that, it's hard to stay. So it was important for me to find that.
That's a word. That's awesome.
So fast forward 5 years from now, what would you say you want Couro to look like? And how do you see it impacting athletes' lives?
Yeah. That's a really good question. Couro, I want Couro to be a... That's my dog.
The Great Dane.
That's him.
Do we get a guest appearance? I guess.
Lena, you want to come here? You want to come here, buddy? Come here. You gotta come on camera.
Now everyone's gonna have to watch the YouTube.
Yeah, that's him. Okay, so he's a track athlete too. He used to pull me on his on my skateboard. He doesn't do it anymore. He's too old now. He's like, I'm 5, bro. I'm not doing that no more.
Yeah, it's really cute.
I love it.
So your question was, where do I see Couro in 5 years? I have this vision, this dream that I'm working towards specifically to make to make come into existence, which is, I have this vision of somebody on a pedestal getting bequeathed a gold medal, whether it's world champions or whether it's Olympics. So 5 years, we'll call it 4 years Olympics. Someone's getting a gold medal, and then they're getting interviewed about the process of how they made it there. And I want them to say, I want to build something that can create the outcome where someone would say, look, I wouldn't be able to be here. I wouldn't have been able to focus on my training and get the resources that I need without a company like Couro that allowed me to share what I know in exchange for resources in a way that makes sense for me and the person on the other side. That's what I'm trying to build, right? Where people go to Couro to get what they need. If it's resource, if it's money, they can come on Couro and get that. If it's insight, if it's personal feedback from either a pro or an AI run analysis, which is coming, then they can do that too. But it's a place where athletes can come and know and trust that that they can get what they need. And right now, everything's so sporadic. Everything is so, you gotta be really nimble. You gotta know the right people, the right places, and be at the right time and look the right way, right? And it's real tough. And so I wanna help create that community.
Yeah, I love that because it's not only a community, but it's also you're democratizing access to high quality coaching and information. So you're able to kind of level the playing field as well, and allowing someone who maybe grows up and they don't have as many resources, a young kid, but they are hungry and they want to be the best jumper they can be, to be able to access the best coaching in the world. And in the same respect, being able to equip those Olympian level athletes to have that additional income to coach, to give back to the next generation. I feel like it's so beautiful, and it's such a win-win product. For our listeners out there, get on Couro. If you're trying to level up in your sport, in life, it's really, really awesome product.
So do you have any stories of any people who have reached back out to you about Coral, of how you guys have been able to impact their lives or their running style or anything?
Yeah, like success stories, totally. We've had people um, who've improved their. So a lot of the people are track athletes, so it's like you actually get tangible like numbers right of improvement, which is kind of cool, measures of success. And so we had people improve. One guy improved his long jump by about 2 feet in through a couple back and forward with the pro he's working with. Another person, his triple jump by, I think it was, he said 2 meters, which
Wow.
is almost 6 feet, which is a lot. It sounds like, but really it just means that he had something in him. Like the coach just helped bring it out. And
Mm.
so that was really cool to hear that it was working. And then what was the coolest is somebody was like, hey, my goal was to be able to walk on at, I think it was Georgia. My goal was to be able to walk out of Georgia, and I need to hit a better mark to be able to do that. And then he circled back and he's like, I'm a walk on.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
That was super cool because he set out a goal, he got helped out, and then he was able to walk on. And hopefully, if he sticks with it, maybe he'll become a scholarship athlete. I mean, he's
Mhm.
in his first year, I think. So
That's incredible.
that's the impact that I want. Like, it'd be great to make money and stuff like this, but if I didn't make a dime off Coro, but I was making impact like that, then it's worth it. A
Mhm.
100 million%, because like, helping people stay in the sport, helping people reach their own personal goals. And him going to Georgia and being a walk on there, he's going to have all these type of experiences that he would have never had, and he'll probably be a better person for it, because what it takes to be a high level athlete takes a lot of self-discipline and refining and focus and blah 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 that he can take to wherever he goes next.
Mhm. I
So
think you found your brand ambassador.
oh yeah, honestly, that's a good point, man. I should hit him up. Yeah,
Right?
check on him. I'm sure he's grinding right now. He said that the off season was tough. I'm like, yeah, this is D1, baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he said yep at the same time.
Do you
Yeah,
also tie in your legal background into like contract negotiations for some of the athletes that come in? I know you.
so so that's really interesting. People have asked me that. It's not something that I promoted. It's not something that I was like, I'll do this for you. Just people have asked me out of nowhere. Or I like I have one, or maybe a few TikToks that I made about NIL,
Mm.
and people have mentioned it. And sometimes when I post, I just feel like I'm throwing it in the ether. It's almost like, I don't really expect anyone to really see it. But then people have reached out and said, I saw your TikTok post. I went to Coro. Can you help me like with this NIL thing that I have? Can
It's
you read this
cool.
contract for me? I had an apparel company ask me to write a few contracts and stuff like that. And so like it it wasn't something that I planned, but it is something that is a growing part of my practice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Love
Just
that.
natural.
So
Hmm.
cool. I'm curious, Cam. So you've shared doing all the things. You're a pro athlete, you're a founder, you're an attorney. It's a lot at once.
Mm.
How do you balance all of this? And then also in that same respect, how important is your mental game to your success?
Hmm. Um, well, I'll answer it in reverse. Mental is the number one thing. The only thing that separates a great or a good and a great athlete in a lot of places is just mental execution. A lot of the guys look the same on the track. A lot of the guys train pretty similarly, and similarly in intensity,
Mm,
frequency, all that type of stuff. Like a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily, rocket science or secret, right?
Mhm.
But what separates the good from great is a lot of times mental execution, and giving yourself the mental space to be great,
Mhm.
which is easier said than done. Like I
yeah.
said, I took myself out of it when I was on the track with all the Olympians and stuff. I was like, oh my god, I was just starstruck. I couldn't focus on what I needed to for me. And so like I've learned a lot about how I can how that needs to manifest for me, which is a lot of times just taking a breath.
Mm,
Mhm.
um, when I was younger, I used to be so quick to over emotion. My brothers, I have two older brothers and two older cousins, all boys that live with us, and they used to just poke my buttons. I was the youngest guy. They just
yeah.
poke my buttons all the time, so I just get so frustrated all the time. I learned
Yeah.
to just after three, I would say take ten breaths. After three, you're good. right? But
Yeah.
you give yourself the space for 10. And so I have learned to be able to do that, not just at a specific point in my day. Also, when I wake up, I meditate, and I,
Yeah.
either do that or will journal. It just depends on what calls me.
Mm.
But also knowing that it's a whole part of your day. It's something that you practice all day. My old coach, Mike Powell. He's actually the long jump world record holder. Shout out to him.
Wow. Go
He
Mike.
actually changed how I even saw athletics at all, because he
Yeah.
told me, look, you don't run right, so you got to focus on how you walk, because I
Mm-hmm.
only see you for 2 hours a day, so you got to focus on having right walking posture the rest of the 22 hours. Then when you come here, you've already been training.
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I took that mentality to my mental as well. And so not just when I'm focusing on it, but when I focus on it, it's like hyper focused, way more potent than I can take that kind of throughout the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel my heart rate going up, when I feel something frustrating me, when I feel like, I'm overwhelmed, instead of trying to run to the next thing, I take a beat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really helpful. Also, listening to a lot of music, like listening to a lot of uh, I call it like music with no sound, with no lyrics, really helps me get
Mm-hmm.
into the flow state a little bit better. I'll
Yeah.
listen to covers with violin, stuff like that.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
every now and then, just doing things that are completely not related to being productive. Like, I'm teaching myself how to play the harmonica, not because of anything other than the fact that it's just something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like turning my brain off of all the other stuff, and
Yeah.
then just being able to do something else for 30 minutes. It's like a rest,
Yeah, I
even
think
though
that
it's kind
goes
of
back
hard.
to your just like your mentality in general of just being so ambitious and like a go-getter mentality, whether that's like through your sport or through like those other means, is like constantly challenging yourself to grow. But like to your point of like the mental side, the book that changed my life is Mind Gym. I don't know if you read it.
Mind Gym, I've heard of it, but I haven't read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, like
I'm gonna add it.
it talks about how like 90% of being an athlete is actually like mental and 10% is physical. I don't know where they got
Mm,
those stats, but I'm just going to live with it. But like it is so true, just like being having the ability to use imagery or to control yourself, especially like young athletes who are learning to control
yeah,
their emotions. Like I train kids in basketball, and the biggest thing for like elementary through middle school is them controlling their emotions and understanding like how to use that frustration and in a different, more positive way. and
right.
like and like you, it's a constant ebb and flow, whether you're in college or whether you're a pro. Like you're always working through those type of things. And
Hmm.
like people are like, if I just train harder, I will be more successful. and
Yeah.
they don't realize that like if they just focused on their well-being and their mentality and controlling like the things that are unseen, they would be much more successful in their craft.
Yeah, and like, if it were only so easy to just train harder, because everyone
Yeah.
can do that.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'll
When I
just
was
run
in college,
faster.
we used to
Right.
do this thing called mind time.
Mm,
So our coaches were big fans of Phil Jackson. Also love Phil Jackson. Shout out Lakers, also the Bulls, but Laker number one.
okay.
But Phil Jackson used to give his players time to warm up their mind before getting on the basketball court. So they would
Mm,
meditate. They'd get in a circle, close their eyes, lights off, visualize having success,
mm,
practice breathing, get those reps in mentally
hmm.
before they stepped on the court. So we would do that in our team room. We turn the lights off before every practice. Sometimes people would nap, but a lot of times you take it very seriously. And I will say, like, that was such a cool tool that I've also taken with me today in my career. If I have a
Yeah.
big, if I'm like emceeing a big conference or I'm giving a big talk or a client facing presentation, I will visualize myself having success before.
Ah,
Visualize what it feels like to be on stage, how the crowd reacts,
yeah.
how I'm feeling, and just get myself into a place where I'm ready to be confident and kind of shoot my shot and make that shot. But yeah, the mind
Right
game is
on.
huge. And I'm not
Yeah.
surprised that you're having so much success off the field adopting this mindset.
Well, we're still working on it. Success is a moving target, but
It is. It is. But
like, as far as like the mental stuff, also something that really helps is priming. Right. I think as a track athlete, we're actually lucky that we have a same very specific workout to prime ourselves to push ourselves to 100% for a specific amount of time, and we time it literally. Like, high jumps or long jump starts at 11, so I need to start warming up at like 9:15 at the latest. um preferably 15 minutes, 20 minutes earlier, but that's as close as I can get. Otherwise I'm late. And so we have a specific workout that ramps up in intensity and also helps you ramp up mentally as you're going through it. And I even do stuff I learned. This is a study habit. So for your student athletes out there, you can do this on the court and in the classroom. Chew the same gum that you use when you want to. Let's say you're studying for biology. Chew a biology gum, and then on the biology test, chew that biology test. You'll prime your body to remember that. Similarly, if you're doing high intensity training that is supposed to emulate a competition, chew that same gum, but don't chew it any other time, because
Yeah.
then you're gonna waste it. So I have a nasty gum. I have this nasty run gum that I chew whenever I compete, and people are like, yo, can I get some gum? Like, I'm telling you, you don't want this.
Is it that zebra gum?
No, it's not zebra. I don't want to like call
You don't
out
want to plug
anything.
it?
You're good. You're good.
I don't
It
want
keeps
to. I don't. Yeah, unless they want to assign me or something. But it's. I'll
As
tell you
you're
off the
calling
bat.
it
It's
a
not
nasty
a.
gum.
Yeah, but it works though. For me, when I chew it, I'm like, I'm ready to go.
ready
Right.
to
Like,
go.
I even can't have that flavor. Like people will offer me that flavor. I was like, I can't even have this. This is saved special flavor. So anyways,
Crazy.
that's
That's
one
cool.
thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wonder too. So, speaking of mindset, Cam, I know this past year you had a pretty big injury. You were training for Paris 2024, wanting to qualify for the Olympics, had a really great chance, and then got hit with this injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, would be curious, speaking about mindset, when you face challenges like this one that you faced with this injury, how do you maintain that hope and that resiliency? What's your mindset in the face of these challenges?
That's a good question. So yeah, for the listeners, I partially tore my Achilles jumping. And it had been something that had been kind of bothering me a little bit here and there, but towards the end of the season, you just got to go.
Mm.
And so I was feeling it. It's kind of hot, like radiating and stuff. But I was like, it'll go away. And I have this bad habit of pushing through injuries, anyways.
Don't we all?
Yeah,
Right.
I know. Yeah, my coach is like, okay, you said it's a 2, but is it a 2-2? Or is it a cam 2?
How soft are you right now? Are you?
Yeah, it's exactly, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I felt the kick in the back of my leg, and I was like, damn, there it is.
Mhm.
I still like jumped okay actually that day, but coach was like, you're limping, you're done.
Yeah.
And so I went to the doctor, got the MRI, everything, and confirmed that it was only a partial. I actually thought it was a full. And so
Would you prefer a partial or a full?
I prefer a partial, because partial, I mean, it can heal itself if you're
Okay.
smart and you're
Cool.
patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there might be scar tissue that you need to work out with some ultrasound or something. But a full tear, you never know if you'll be 100% back.
Mm.
Christian Taylor, probably the best triple jumper American ever, if not the best amongst the best. He tore his Achilles 2 years ago, and he wasn't really able to come back.
Mm.
He's still able to compete at a high level, but not at the level for Christian Taylor.
Yeah.
And so, like you just never know. Every athlete's different. And so, I kind of took that and I was like, okay, first thing, it's not a full tear.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, before even that, I was like, hey, we don't know what it is. So you
Yeah.
can't be catastrophizing. Don't spin, just go about your day, focus on other things. And then when I got the feedback, I was like, okay, it's not as bad as it could be. But even if it was, it's not so bad. I mean, like, if it was my time to be done, it was my time to be done. But I still have my body, I still have my leg, and I can still do other things that I want to do, but also be real and let myself be sad.
Yeah.
Like I really tried to lean into being sad. So for a few days I was sad. I was not fun to be around intentionally, so that I can actually feel those feelings. It's important to not let them sit in your body, because your body remembers and your body reacts to it. right? You know, I found a lot of my friends who have competed angry have gotten hurt that same day.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know that that has anything to do with it, but it's spooky enough for me to not try to,
Yeah.
right? Not try to compete angry or, anything like that. Or sad even, people don't compete while sad. And so I leaned into it. I journaled a lot. I spoke to mentors, spoke to people who had it done before. Um, and, it was just like, hey, look, like, whatever it is, it can never be that bad because nothing is really ever that bad. You know, like the worst thing that happens to you is the worst thing that happens to you. So that's the worst thing. But also, you know, in a year from now, it'll be all right.
I think one of the things, like when I tore my ACL, is like I'm not the
Mm.
first and I'm not the last to have this happen to me. But I
Yeah.
think what is awesome about like where you are in your life and like the things that you have going on is like you have so many different labels. Like you are a CEO, you are like a part of build.org, you're an athlete, but you have all these other labels and like identities. So like if that like that injury, it didn't completely crumble you because like
Mm-hmm.
you are so solid in like who you are and the things that you have going and the things you're trying to build. Like I think that's really cool. You're an attorney too. Sorry, I missed one.
It's okay.
But like I think that's something that a lot of athletes don't have, is that
Mm-hmm.
identity in other areas of themselves that you have specifically.
Yeah, yeah. And it also helps that I've been injured a ton.
Yeah.
Like starting with my broken
Same.
pelvis, which also like maybe this is just like I don't know, machismo or something. But like when I was 14 and they told me I had a broken pelvis, they told me I'd never jump again.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm 14. What do you mean?
Right.
Like I just disregarded it. My parents were
Yeah.
like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." Right. And it
Really?
was fine. And I was like, 2 months later, I was in the doctor's office and I was jumping. Like the way I got cleared, I'm not gonna say his doctor's name because the way I got cleared was he was like, "Hey, all right, fine. If you want to play basketball, you say you're okay. If you can touch the ceiling 10 times, I'll let you go." And I was like, okay, scientific, I guess.
Right.
And I did it. And he was like, have you been training? I was like, no. Like you told me not to.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
I won't
Actually,
say the doctor's name.
no, I won't. I think he's still practicing. But anyway,
It's rough. Yeah.
yeah, I actually wrote him a letter when I went to college for jumping.
Yeah.
And I was like, I attached like my
A signed photo of yourself?
Yeah, as an All-American. Here we are.
no. This is before I even went to college.
Oh, okay.
I just attached like the letter from the coach saying like what I was going to be doing, and I was like, hey, look, like I appreciate the care that you gave me. I just want you to be careful with your diagnosis with athletes because not everyone's going to have the same mentality that I did, and you could have stopped somebody from a dream.
Yeah.
And he never wrote me
True.
back.
Yeah.
But I hope that he at least got it. And if he
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
whatever, the universe got it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
but
wild.
so anyways, like just keeping that mindset of your body will heal. Maybe you won't be back to where you used to be, but the body will heal. And you can't let your soul break because of something that happened with your body.
Love that.
I think you should still send a signed photo.
Yeah, now
Of you
that would be
jumping.
crazy.
That's
Maybe I
good.
will. Just wow, 15 years later.
Yeah. Well, we always like to end our episode with asking our guests to give some advice to our listeners regarding their full potential and how to reach their full potential and use their giftings to make the world a better place. Do you have any advice for our listeners that you'd like to share?
Yeah, sort of similarly, like I said, to success. Full potential is a moving target. The closer you get to it, the fuller extent of your potential extends. And so there is no end. There is no best version of yourself. There's a better version, which you could be today, not tomorrow. So that's what I drive towards, right? I don't think that there's a maximum that anyone or any group can reach. It just keeps moving. And that's what we want. I would be so sad if I hit a ceiling and I could just never get better, right? Because then there's no drive. And so even if there is a ceiling, you might as well think there isn't. Because I thought there was a ceiling for myself when I was 22, and then randomly when I started training again at 25, I broke through without even really realizing it.
Yeah.
And so
So good.
sometimes it's time that can do that. Sometimes it's effort that can do that.
Yeah.
But usually it's both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And all we got is time and effort. And so if you can put those into something that you care about, you'll see dividends every day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So good. Kim,
That's a
and
great word.
I think everything you've shared today about your mindset has been so inspiring. And I think
Right.
so many incredible lessons learned. Of course, this last piece of insights that you just shared, but I think, if anything, what I'm taking away from this is the power of mindset and the power of
Mm.
kind of how you approach challenges and different situations. So, yeah, just really love what you've shared. You are a champion in all the ways. Also, we didn't really get to speak a ton about your impact in the community
Oh.
beyond Couro, but I know you're also sitting on the board for build.org, giving back to that next generation of youth, helping them to develop those entrepreneurial mindsets.
Hmm.
So for listeners out there, also check out build.org because it's a great organization doing great work.
Yes, it
Uh,
is. Do you want me to talk about that, or do we need to roll?
yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Quick plug on build.org
Yeah.
and then we'll jump into lightning round.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, Build.org is a great organization. Shout out to the people there. So my what I do with them. So they kids have in school extra class, so they're opting into more school. Already crazy. Not me
Yeah.
at high school, but they opt into extra class, which is an entrepreneurship level class where they actually create their own businesses in groups. They pitch it to board members like me, and then we help them refine it over a whole school year. And then at the end of the year, they pitch it to at a big pitch competition called Build Fest, um, in various locations. When I went, they had it at Cal, which I literally pitched in the same room that they pitched at, which was crazy.
So cool.
And they were getting asked the same questions that a founder that I was getting, and they weren't fumbling over their words, and they were
Wow.
confident and all this type of stuff. And these are first year students. They're 14. Right. And so they're getting this experience then. And then at the end, if they win, they actually get a check too,
Wow.
right? Which is amazing. But it's not about the money, it's about the experience. You can't put a price on that because
Yeah.
they're realizing that they don't need to be they don't need to be 45 in order to start a business. They don't need to have a college degree necessarily to start a business. They could start it today. That's the whole point. And
Mhm.
it's just, do you have a good idea? Here are the ways to do it. And then here's how to tap into your community to get the resources and needs and resources from people who might have them. So
Mhm.
that was really cool for me to experience. And I was like, I got to be a part of this because I wish I had this at 14. Because all the stuff they were learning, I had to make mistakes to learn. And I'm all about making it easy for the next person. Because if I already made the mistake, the universe has had the mistake. Nobody else needs to have it, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
If information is known, it should be shared.
Mhm.
And so that's how I feel. And so that's why I'm a part of that organization. Thank you for letting me plug that real quick.
Yeah, that's great. I can't imagine having that amount of confidence at 14
Right.
in a room like that. So
Yeah,
it's great that you're starting young. I was going to jump into the lightning round unless you have
Yeah,
something
let's do
else.
it. Let's do
let's do
it.
it.
All right. So lightning round. Quick answers. All right. So first question, who's the toughest competition you faced on the track?
This is tough. I got a lot of friends who are gonna be like me.
Right.
Plug me.
Better say me. I'll say the most storied and decorated probably is dang, what's his name? Jeff Henderson. Jeff Henderson was a 2016 gold medalist in Rio for long jump, and he's so fast and just like so technical, jumps so far. Like it's amazing seeing him. And he's like a kind of a shorter guy, and
Hmm.
so it's really cool to see when a person whose body maybe you wouldn't assume to be that type of athlete is,
Yeah.
and in order what they have to do to get to do what maybe other people who have a more typical body have to do. It's really amazing to see. And just like his focus and drive, he was so like he was not talking to people before. After he was cool, but
Yeah.
before he
Yeah.
was just like, I was like,
Before you're
man,
like, what's
that's a
this
level I
guy's
need to
deal?
be on. That's when I was starstruck too, so I'll say him.
Yeah.
But so many. Shout out to the homies. Don't be on my neck about this, y'all.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, next question. You are an avid scuba diver. So want to
Yeah,
know, what is the most epic place that you've been for diving? And what's the coolest thing you've seen on a dive? Any
man.
whales
Okay,
down there?
man. I've seen so much. So Most epic place, I'll say the Dominican Republic, only because like dolphins came, like ran up on us. That was
Oh,
crazy. Um,
Unreal.
yeah, and we also like did a shipwreck dive. That was really cool. But the craziest thing that's ever happened to me, I was in Krabi, Thailand, or off the coast of Krabi, Thailand, scuba diving, and I have a problem. I breathe too fast and too deeply, and so I run out of air quicker than most people,
Oh no.
which you would think as a master scuba diver would have figured it out, but I haven't.
it's
And
all
so,
mental.
yeah, honestly, it is. I just get so excited down there. I'm like, oh, what is that? It's so exciting. And so I went up first, and then my other buddy Bruce Service went to college together, and he came up kind of maybe 2-3 minutes after me. But as I'm up, I see this snake like kind of swimming, like sea snake swimming. And so when you see a sea snake, you assume it's venomous. You assume, because they kind of have to be it in order to catch a fish. There's no like constricting on them, right? You got to just like
Right.
paralyze them. And so like more venomous on average than a land snake. And so I was like, that's crazy. Good thing it's pretty far out from me, 15 yards or so. I'm cool. And then Bruce comes, which he does the right thing. He's supposed to surface near me. He does, but in between me and the fish, or
Oh,
and the
the
snake.
snake. It's a snake, not a fish. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
Oh.
Snake. And Bruce is like, yo, what's up, dude? And I'm like, Bruce, come swim to me. And he's like, why? And I'm like, just come. And as he's swimming, I'm like, Bruce, don't freak out. There's a snake like 2 feet behind you. And Bruce was like, what? And he comes over and everything. It was fine. But you don't know it's gonna be fine, right? So that
No.
was probably the
No.
craziest thing I've ever seen.
That's
I-
insane.
Yeah.
All right, third question. You're a dog dad to
Yeah.
a Great Dane. What's his name? This isn't the
Lando.
question. Lando? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the most ridiculous thing that you've done as a dog dad?
Kind of what I described before. So when he was young, he was like a raptor, velociraptor, like crazy energy. So I got him as a puppy, and he grew 5 pounds every week until he stopped growing.
Oh,
And
that's
so
crazy.
I know. And so like I'll say 4 months to about a year and a half, he was just a monster. And so in order to cool him out, I would make him pull me on my longboard throughout Davis because it was flat and everything. And I'd like be blasting music or whatever. And one time he saw a rabbit, and so he just
Oh.
we're vibing, going through the streets. It's all cool, and then he just goes whoop and goes left, and then I go left off my board and just tumble and like get all cut up, and I come back home and my homies are like, "Who'd you get in a fight with? What is wrong with
Just me,
so
Lando.
yeah, and so I got back on the skateboard the next day, but didn't even phase me. So maybe getting back the next day was a crazy thing.
That's wild. I love
Yeah.
that. What a sight.
Yeah.
Okay, our last lightning round question. This one's a little bit deep. Deepish. If you could get dinner with any person in history, who would it be and why?
Wow. Anyone in history, huh?
Anyone?
Past and future, huh?
Yep, anyone.
Wow.
Would it be that attorney, what you looked up to as a
Thurgood
3-year-old
Marshall.
or third grade?
Thurgood Marshall would be such a good one. Such a good one. I think I would want to. All right. There. I think because all of those really ancient people, like Socrates, Alexander the Great, some king like Ramses, like all those people kind of had the same level of dopeness. I'm gonna go with a curveball. I'd wanna get dinner with my great grandchild.
Oh, wow.
And I'd want to see what they thought of me, my legacy, and what they had wished that I had done.
Ooh,
That was deep.
that
was
is
a great
deep.
answer.
I
Right
didn't
on.
even think of like like futuristic.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. What if you didn't like their answer?
I hope I don't. So I can course correct. Tell me what I need to do, man. Like so I can
Right.
have a better legacy for someone like you.
They're like, I wish you did more outside of being an attorney, a pro athlete, a founder on the
Say less.
board.
What do you need? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Right.
good. Well, Cam, it has been so incredible having you on the podcast. We love hearing your story. For our listeners out there, we're going to link Cam's LinkedIn profiles, Instagram, socials, all that will be linked in the show notes, as well as the link to Couro. So if you want to get on that app and get yourself right, download that app as well, and follow along Cam's journey. But yeah, thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate the opportunity. I love what you both are doing, giving athletes a platform to talk about more than just being an athlete, because a lot of times we get stuck thinking that we're just an athlete when really we're just a whole person. So there's so much going on. And so I appreciate being a part of your journey, but also just following and supporting however I can.